Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And we're going to continue. This is a big day because we're going to be pulling the Rover out of the garage with the Mercruiser engine. And we're going to test to make sure the clutch works. But just a word of warning to you that this video this carburetor is such a pain in the butt the whole time. Trying to get it started, keeping it running, keeping it idling. So that was just terrible. It was totally frustrating. So in a future video, we're going to be changing the carburetor out. And the exhaust, you'll see I made an exhaust for it. The first one was so loud, it was ridiculous too. So it was just a complete train wreck trying to get that out of the garage. So I ended up putting a different muffler on it. So it's a big day. We're going to get it out of the garage. So thank you very much for liking and subscribing and following along. And I'll see you at the end of the video. Here's our temporary exhaust that I'm going to run until I take it so I can do some test drives around the neighborhood. And then there's a local muffler shop that they can bend and make any exhaust that you need. So I just need a temporary one to drive it around and not bother the neighbors too much. So what I did is this is a 2-inch, like a angle flange here or some kind. I can't remember what it's called. But then it has a donut that goes on top, and the donut goes into the exhaust manifold. So it was straight when I bought it, so I heated it up and bent it on this hard angle. You got to get this hard angle to get from the manifold to clear the engine. And then it comes down to another sharp bend coming down. Then this comes down underneath the cross member in the middle, and then comes straight down. And then what I have for the end right here is this is an exhaust. This is called a Stinger from a Volkswagen air-cooled Beetle, but it's just a glass pack. It's packed full of fiberglass. So this going to go onto the end of that. So this will be our temporary exhaust to run around for a while. So like I said, I got a 2-inch up there. This is a 2-inch elbow, just a regular 90. And then this here, this is an old pipe that I had laying around from a Saab 900, like a 1980 Saab 900 that I had. So I just chopped it off and made it fit to there, and then I welded this onto here coming around, and then I used this piece here weld that actually matches up to this Volkswagen Stinger. Here is what they call that. So here's our exhaust, so I'm going to put that on. Installed the fuel filter from Napa. It's just your simple little metal one for 5/16 fuel line. So I got it connected to the fuel pump. And then over here it's going to the feed line for the Land Rover, the original feed line that I had coming over for the lift pump right here. And this is our return line here that I'm not going to be using anymore. So I'm just going to cap this off with like a rubber cap or something, or a fuel line with a plug in it. So fuel filter's in, and then since I took out the diesel fuel and put in regular gas, I did an electric pump and just kind of bled the line and got some fuel, regular fuel coming into the fuel line to the front. So you got the battery hooked up. Got all the wiring hooked up. I have everything run across and everything, and I almost forgot the starter wire that comes down to the starter to get that going. But the battery cables, I used my old cables, come down to the chassis here, and the chassis comes over to the bolt that's underneath the fuel pump here. So that's the ground coming up. Positive, I have it going down under, right over to the starter right over here. So that's got power. We got our starter wire hooked up. So I think we're ready to give this a fire up. So I kept all the wiring just the same, or the dash to be the same as it was originally. So we'll have our key here, and we'll have our alternator light here, oil pressure here. But we don't, I still have the oil gauge on there. I haven't hooked up the oil light because I got an oil gauge that I'm going to put in. So I haven't hooked that up yet, so we don't have an oil light. And then the low fuel light, because I only put in like 2 gallons, maybe 3 gallons of gas back there in the tank. So the low fuel light, that's still hooked up. And that's the glow plug light, but we're not going to use that. Maybe I'll use it for something in the future. I don't know what. But so we got the power coming around, and down here will still be our starter button, the same as before. So let's give it a quick little hit before we start it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so our starter works. So that's cranking, and everything is getting gas, getting everything to it, I hope. Maybe we'll run it a little bit. Hopefully it picked up a little bit of gas from the tank and starts flowing up there. So I'll move you outside and we'll start the engine up. All right, we were just inside and we had everything. It's getting electricity and it's cranking over. So let's give it a start. The one thing that's weird about this carburetor, it doesn't have a choke on it, so it's like real hard to keep idling whenever it's cold. So we'll get that started, and we'll see how it goes. there it is. It started up. The next step is I'm going to start it up and then see if we can engage the clutch and see if we can roll back a little bit and forward. Alrighty, let's get her out of the garage. Taking off this Volkswagen Stinger off of the engine. So what I ended up doing was a temporarily permanent fix until at least so I could do some testing and tuning. And let me give you a shot here. So I went to the parts store, bought some exhaust stuff or whatever. So here's our same downpipe that we had before. I bought a little flexi pipe, 2-inch flex pipe. Here's our Hyundai muffler that we used to start the engine inside the house. I welded on a straight pipe onto this end because it was actually curved down. Then this end, this is the same pipe. This is the pipe that came out of it. Then I put a little tailpipe on it, and then I have a hanger going up to where the original station wagon or 109 hanger is up here. I have that bolted down to here to hang it. Then this hanger here is coming off of the transmission mount right here. So we're going to start it up and see what this sounds like. Alrighty, so the clutch works. the engine runs and it moves under its own power, so that's a good thing. And you can see by the last picture, if you made it to the end of the video, that my test drive didn't do all so good or whatever. So I had to get towed home. Great friend came over and towed me home. But so it's working. We got lots of tweaks we got to do to it to get it running so it runs perfect and reliable. So stay tuned. There'll be more videos on the Land Rover. That's a never-ending project. So thank you very much for following along and continuing to follow along. And you're always positive. Stay positive because you're awesome, so stay awesome. I'll see you in the next one.